Hello, I'm Micks Mowers and Merman, and welcome to my channel. In this video today will be part 2 video of the Sarp Honda Kaaz Gearbox Pro Gearbox refurbishment video. I've already done one video which you would have seen where I took the roller out, tested the lawnmower, it didn't drive, and I took the gearbox out and what have you, and deemed that some of the parts within the gearbox were actually worn and broken. And I believe I've got all the parts here now that have now come in. I've got all the parts for around about 90 quid, which seems like quite a lot of money in the long run, but these machines are worth quite a pretty penny, and if you sell them as a refurbished gearbox, then they tend to sell much better all the same. A brand new gearbox for one of these is around about £450. You can buy sort of refurbished ones for around about £200, £250 on their own. But I decided with this lawnmower, because the bloke had it as from a personal mower, not been used commercially, it was well worth the investment. So I've got all the parts down here in this little tiny box, little tiny tub here, which I took all apart in the previous videos. And we now should be good to go to try and at least put this gearbox back together, and hopefully within the same video we'll try and get the roller fitted back on. The rollers had brand new bearings put in it, which I've done videos on as well, so hopefully by the time we get to the end of this video, the lawnmower will fire up, run, cut and drive with a completely refurbished pro roller gearbox on the back of it. So hopefully we could be up and running here. And I think I didn't pay a lot of money for the machine. I paid about £60 for the machine, I believe, something along that line. As I say, it all runs 2005 model, so it should be good to go. So if you want to see how to reinstall and refurbish these pro gearboxes, then this is a video for you. If this is the first time I'm watching Micks Mowers and Merman, hit the old subscribe button, not whack the old bell, set notifications to all, that way you'll be told next time I upload another video, and it's completely free of charge to subscribe to my channel. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty, and let's get this professional gearbox reinstated and fully working. Okay, so let's have a look at the bits and bobs that we've got. One gearbox casing. We've got all the gears, chains and what have you. Let's get all this out. There should be a keyway there somewhere, Mick, for that. I need to find a keyway for that in a minute. There's the old clutch fork. So all the bits and bobs are here. Cool. So what we're going to be doing is getting rid of these bits for now. The bits that we don't need. We don't need the clutch. We've got a new clutch. We've got a new main gear as well. These bits we need. The clutch fork we don't. We've got a new clutch fork, and that's all the bits we need. There's a keyway to that. Mustn't lose that, Mick. That's good. And in the new pack of many bits, we've got a brand spanking new clutch. There it is. We've got a new main gear. We've got a new pinion gear. And a new clutch fork. So there's the four new parts that we've got. So the total bill for all of that was £98. It was £29 for the clutch. It was a delivery charge of £3.26. It was for the clutch shaft and fork was £18 and £49 for the main gear and pinion gear as a combo. And there's all your part numbers there for you if you wish to have a little look. There's the part numbers for you there. Okay, all written down, so feel free to pause the video at any point to see that. So now I'm going to get rid of all the old bits. I don't want to get confused here and put in the old bits. I may keep the main gear. That main gear doesn't look too bad, to be fair, but I may keep that. The clutch forks had it, and so's a clutch. So let's get rid of those out of the way. We don't need those no more. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, I want to bring in this part of the gearbox. So I want to remove this this little pinion gear itself. That's got to come out because it is just slightly worn on the top edge. Okay, so I'm going to get a set of circuit pliers just to remove that circuit, which will help me retract this pinion gear out. Okay, let's try and remove this pinion gear. Now, I've not removed one of these before. I'm guessing there's a little circlip there. So that'll have to come out to begin with. That'll lift off. I'm hoping that's just going to knock out. That's the theory behind the madness. There's a little tiny boot on here. I'll just remove that circuit right off so you can see what's going on. Go on, Mr. Circlip. You'd like to think that would just drift out of there. I think it does. So I'm just going to get a little tiny punch. And just going to give it a bit of a tap just to see if that doesn't just drift out. Not too big a hammer, Mick. There seems to be a little tiny circular piece in the middle there. That seems to be quite loose. There's a little tiny roll pin just out the back there, a little tiny pin that comes out the back, and that will then come off. There's a little, is that a washer? No, it's just a bit of dirt. Okay, and then the pinion gear just slides out. And there's a little tiny thrush washer on there as well. That's got to come off. This one has a new thrush washer on there, so that can go. But that then slides in. It's a bit of a tight fit. There's a bit of an oil seal there as well. That then goes in. And then you want to put, no roller bearings in there, no, that's the way that went out. That little tiny pin then sits in, like so. Sorry, my mistake, that goes on first. Line that up with the hole. It's going to be about there. And then that one then sits in, like so. And then you can grab your circlip and put that back over top, and all it does, it just holds the pin in place, like so. And that's a pinion gear change. That was nice and easy. we like little projects like that. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit fiddly. So you just want a little bit of patience, guys and girls, when you do these. So the first thing you want to do is put your little tiny thrush washer on. That goes on the base, and then put your main gear on. Put your finger in there, and then just put your main gear on top, like so. You can then put your clutch fork in, slide that in. Now on mine, before I took my clutch fork out, I actually made a mark on mine. Do you remember that? I'm just going to put that shaft in there, just so it locates that washer. I just don't want that washer to move too much when it's gone in. So now I can now turn this over. Whilst holding that, I can now turn this over. Now I had the clutch fork all the way back as far as it would go, and then I had this little tiny hammer here, and I made a little tiny mark on it just here and on the casing, so I know that when I put this down together, those two marks have got to line up, which is going to be, yeah, about there. So that can then go on, and you've then got a 10mm nut and bolt system, which will hold all of that into place. And I know then that that is where that that little clutch system went. If you don't make a mark on it before you take it off, then you're sort of guessing where your clutch is in relation to when you engage your drive. You hear what I'm saying? All I'm going to do is just going to start that up, just so it doesn't come off. Just going to double check my markings in the right place. Yeah, it is. And I'm just literally just going to nick up that little 10mm bolt. Just so it's got it. It doesn't have to be on the plastic type, but it needs to at least grip it. We can come back to it and tighten later on. But now I know that's where my clutch needs to be to occupy to activate my my clutch itself. Okay. Now that's in place, we need to get your clutch. Just want to try and locate the keyway for that. There it is there. There's my clutch. In fact, it only goes on one way, guys. You can't mess that up. Bring your clutch fork down with it as it comes. And just give it a bit of a rotate. Down it all goes together. So that's your clutch, that's your clutch now in place. You've then got a little tiny keyway to go in. That's got to go in there. Now this is the hard bit, because you've got to put this on and get the chain on at the same time. Okay, so it is a little bit difficult. And what I'm going to try and do is try and push this all the way up as far as I can go. My keyway has just fallen out somewhere. Where's my keyway gone? I heard that drop somewhere. There it is. So I've just used a little bit of maintenance lube as well, just to help these bits sort of go in. So this is a hard bit. You've got to try and get that chain onto the back. That's gone on lovely. And then line up your keyway, which keeps trying to come out, whilst putting it onto the main cog itself. And it's better if this is up higher. Once that's up a bit, you can then sort of understand what's needed. Get your chain on. I've just got to rotate my chain round a couple of turns. And it's going to be about there, Micks. Now I know that washer has not moved underneath. If at any time you decide that washer has actually come adrift, you've got to take it apart and put it all back together. That ain't a million miles away. But you see what I've got to try and do? I've got to try and manipulate this over the top of this shaft. I don't want to be bashing it really. It will take a little tiny tap. Just to try and locate it. But the chance of tapping it, you're then going to dislodge that that keyway. So put your finger just down behind it if you can. Try and locate that keyway, because once that comes out, then you're going to be sort of stuck. So it's going down now, but I have got my finger trapped. I'll just move the finger out. I can see the keyway. So make sure it's in. A bit more of a tap. It's just starting to bind on my keyway. I want to rotate this round a touch. It's there. There it goes. And then that can then be pushed down. And that's it. That's your gearbox fully reinstated. Okay, so just to test this, one thing you don't want to forget, you don't forget the little flush washer that actually sits up on top here as well. That's got to sit in there. So to test your gearbox, all you've got to do is engage your clutch and then spin this shaft, which this is your output shaft, yeah? So this is clutch not engaged, so the gears are not moving. Engage your clutch, which is lowering the fork down on top, and eventually it'll bite, and there you go. There's your output. Now, you're supposed to be using SAE30 in here. I know on Mate Mend It Man, he uses some kind of like runny grease, which is no longer available apparently. You can't get it. It don't exist. So I'm going to be using good old-fashioned EP90 gear oil. Now I've got two choices. I don't have to worry about filling this up with oil yet, because I actually have a oil fill port just here at the back. Now I can choose to fill my oil up at the end. However, I would like to see most of the oil go in beforehand, because I'm not quite sure how much it holds. Okay, off the top of my head. So what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to close down my gearbox itself. I'm trying to find my good old trusty Terrell Fixes All maintenance lube. There it is. which Terrell himself sent me, just to spray on this shaft. It's just a maintenance lube, so it's not going to hurt anything. It's good stuff too, actually. Thrust washer on there, as we just said, and this has got to go on this way, over top, and then got to squeeze down with a little bit of tapping over that oil seal. It's got to go over that lip. Once it gets over that lip, like so, we can then start to tap this down very gently. And just start to encourage it down on top. Just make sure it's actually lining up where you want it, you know, so it's all going down together. It will be a bit tricky, but once you get lined up, I'm going to fill my oil up afterwards. Once you get it sort of where you need to get it, just gently tap. I'll use a soft blow hammer. Let's go in. Just make sure your oil seal is all where it needs to be at all times. It's not crept out the hole anywhere, which it has this side. Hi, Riley boy.
Hi.
How you doing?
I come in?
Yeah, you can come in, mate. Yeah, just doing a Honda Gearbox. Honda Gearbox. Say hi, guys.
I try recording.
Eh?
I try recording.
Yeah, of course you can.
Why?
Right, I'm just doing this Honda Gearbox.
It hurt.
It doesn't hurt, no, but it is a bit temperamental.
We're running harder.
Eh?
Is it broken?
It was broken. Daddy's hopefully fixed it. So we are winning. Just trying to get this all to sit down, which it has now gone, I think. Just want to double check before it even kisses all the way down that gasket is down all the way where it needs to be. If it pinches anywhere, then it's never going to seal. But I think we're there. There it goes. Alright, that's now sat all the way down. You might just have to move this shaft up and down a bit, just so you get it to seat. So now if I engage that clutch, just down that way. There it goes. Yeah. So now we've got movement on the clutch. That's good. Right, that's all now in place. Now what I want to do now is I've got my shield to put on, and I've got a load of bolts here to put in. The nuts and the bolts go on the front, on the shield, sorry, here. They go on the shield just here. Sorry, here. And then the actual bolt ones, they go through the other ones here. So this shield's got to go on. That's got to sit on it there, like so. It sits perpendicular, just like that. And that's what actually protects the gearbox. So that's where your nut and bolts go through these two. And then your standard ones, which should all be the same size, I believe. There should be no difference in them. They go into the other one. So what we're going to do is just going to start to kiss this down, just so it's got it. Like so. I'll get the shield put on. For a minute I thought I was missing a bolt. Like so. Put my shield on and I'll come back to you in 2 ticks. Okay, just wanted to sort of come back because this shield should only go on one way. It should go on the longest tail. It's got like a long tail here. You see that? The long tail goes on the side where the output shaft is. It doesn't go that way round. It goes that way round. Okay, so just feed that on. You might get a bit of encouragement, just to have it into place, like so. And it sits on just like that. And then you've got your nuts and bolts, your bits and your bobs to go on. Sink one nut all the way down through there, and the other one goes down through there. Now these are not they are threaded to a degree on the bottom end of the gearbox itself, so you might have to just encourage them down. Just to get them sort of started. Okay, so now that gearbox has all been put back together, and hopefully we've put it back together right with the seal and nothing's now going to leak. So now what I can now do is undo this little tiny bolt at the back. Now you can fill up your oil with this one. Now not all of these gearboxes, especially the Honda ones. The Honda ones don't have it. Honda ones don't have a little tiny filler screw. Not all of them do. So what I'm going to do is I'm using the EPA 90. Now you can use EPA 90 on lots of good stuff, but if you've got any brass components, then I would recommend that you don't use EP 90 if you've got any brass components. I have no brass components, so I'm quite lucky. Now you can just, it is recommended to use SEA 30. Okay, it is recommended, but SEA 30 is quite a thin oil, and EPA 90 is just a little bit thicker. And I used to work on outboard engines as a kid, so I learnt most of my small mechanics trade from, and these have a very, very similar gearing system to an outboard engine. Okay, so I'm going to be using the EPA 90, and all I want to do is literally, got my jug there. I'm just going to fill up, not all the way. I want it to be about just over 3/4 of oil in here. So just going to transfer some of this oil into here. If I fill it up to the brim, I'm just going to get rid of some, okay? I'm not quite sure how much goes in, but I've got roughly 300 ml here. So very, very carefully, I haven't got a funnel small enough. Just going to run the oil into here. This is going to take a little while, and there will possibly be a little bit of spillage. All depends how you handle it. So it's just over 300 ml in the jug. That's just under 300 ml. That's had about 100 ml, just under 100 ml. So it takes a little while just to fill it up. You see what I'm doing? So get that done, and I'll be back to you in 2 ticks once I've finished it. Okay, so that's levelled off around about 200 ml of oil. It was just over 200 ml when it actually topped all the way out. But I just tipped a little bit back out, so it's about 200 ml has gone in, which is more than enough. We're then just going to do up that little tiny 10 ml. So now we're confident, knowing that the gearbox is now full of oil. The oil seals are holding. This one's a little bit wet where I just sprayed that lube on earlier on. Just want to make sure that's nice and dry, make sure we're holding it. Otherwise, I'll come back in and take this oil seal out, put a new oil seal in. But the advantage with this gearbox is if after about a month of running, you can literally just get the lawnmower up on the stand, take your oil plug out, and if you've got oil in there, you know you're holding. Or if you've got oil leaks, you can just fill it back up and change the seals and whatever. So the advantage of the cheaper brands actually have an oil filler just thither. Okay, so we're back. I have put some high temperature grease in amongst the roller bearings just here and here. All right, boy. And what I've now got to do, I've got to put 2 circlips on, one here and one here, which are both here and here. Now, some of the Honda mowers, they actually have a circlip here and a circlip here, but as you can see, there's no circlip goes on there. Okay, so they do differ ever so slightly. So the first thing I want to do is now I want to get myself sorted out and not get it orientated. So this one here, this long roller, has to go on here first. Okay, so I've got to bash that down. That's got brand new bearings in there too. So that's what I got over this roller, over this spline. That sits on there. Then the gearbox goes on, and then the short roller then goes on top of that. But before we do any of that, these circlips must go onto this one here, onto the gearbox. So let me get that done. Circlips, Riley.
I'll help.
You can definitely help.
How?
You can help by helping me put these circlips on.
Where?
I need to find the right circlip.
It's a tiny one.
Yeah, that goes onto there. And that goes onto there, you see. And we're going to open it ever so slightly without it pinging off in your eyes. Slide it down and just seat it onto there, like that. Well done, you.
One next one.
Hang on, so make sure that's on. It's not quite on yet.
It's a bubble one.
Yeah, let me just...
You hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt, buddy. Just got to make sure you get it right. It's not quite on where it needs to be. That looks a little bit more like it.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's gone on. Tip that one over.
They're easy.
And then we've got to put one more on here.
One more?
Yeah. Over the top. Good boy for helping. Hang on, not too far down. Come up a bit. There. That goes on there.
We did it.
Just like we did it together, didn't we?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, so next is to put this this shaft through here, through that bearing, which will need to be tapped on and forced on because it's going to be a very, very tight fit. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this shaft now, just so it'll help it slide down the shaft, so to speak. Okay. If you don't do it, then it makes it worse. Now I have already pre-ground the shaft off on the wire wheel. Okay. So you do want, you know, it's clean as possible. The cleaner the better. So a little bit of grease, this is high temperature grease, will go onto the shaft.
Why?
Just to help it slide on there, Riley boy.
Yeah, how?
No, this is a bit yucky, this bit. You won't want to get involved in this.
And
don't forget, there's actually two washers, because someone had been on mine already. A normal washer and friction washer on this already. So that's got to come off. And that can go on later on, because someone has already been in. So now that's on, we can now put this shaft here through this one. Now that will want tapping with a little bit of a hammer just to help it along its way. It's got to go all the way down like that. Now you see how much easier it was by having grease on the shaft. It makes so much difference. Like that, Riley. Yeah? Good, good. Okay, with that one now on, we now want to fit the gearbox on, and the gearbox will go on with the output shaft uppermost, okay? That's then got to be slid onto there, all the way down. So that going to place. Now there's some splines on here, which have got to fit inside the roller. Now mine have all been pre-greased. There's a little bit of dirt on mine now. We're just where I've been mucking about this. I'm just going to get some more copper slip. Now the reason I'm doing this is because if it comes back, or you've got to take it back off, if you put some copper slip on there, then it just makes it so much easier to retract it. Okay, so do your preparation now. Okay. Don't remove that tub off of that lid off of there, quite on there. I think the old heat's got to that. Cool. I need to put some copper slip on my lid. Right, so a little bit of copper slip just goes onto here. You don't have to use it sparingly, just put it on there. The more you put it on, the better, because as I say, if you've got to come back a bit later on to take it off for any reason, then this will make your job so much easier later on. Okay, now all these splines have been cleaned off on a wire wheel prior to me putting this all back together, because they were in quite bad shape actually. So now we can now slide this on and just lift the shaft up slightly, just so we can get those to marry, and it just goes on just like that. Look, see how easy that went in. Now the reason you have the circlips is that just stops the roller making contact with the gearbox on these, okay? That's the reason why. So I'm going to put a little bit of copper slip now on this side of these splines. Pardon my tummy's rumbling, I must be getting hungry. As I say, don't use that copper slip sparingly, get it on there. And this is actually, believe it or not, part of a service on these. If you have one of these, you know, from new, it's in warranty, then your main dealer should be doing this, taking this apart, because these are all this is all maintainable item. And so many people don't like doing these gearbox rollers because they're not maintained, and because they're not maintained, it makes it so difficult to to get this all to run right. There's a bit too much grease there, Mick. I'll take some of that off. But hopefully this video will help some of you lot out. There are lots of videos out on how to do these, but some are in great detail and some are not so great. But you pick and choose your video you want, you know. I know that Mendit Man's done a few videos on these, and his videos are very, very good. I will say that. But there are quite a few out there. They just don't go into enough detail and show you exactly, possibly where you can go wrong. So now we can push this up into the air. And now we want to try and push this one all the way down, line it up with the bearing up top. Now this might pop the bearing out the top, okay? If it does, it's not the end of the world for us. A little tiny soft blow hammer, just to see that go down. Now you've got to line this up with the splines on this one, remember? So just get it down enough. I mean, you might give it a bit of a turn, just so it starts to bind on that shaft. It's not quite there yet. I can start to feel it now. It starts to want to bind. So just give it a bit of a twist, and then there it goes, gone. So that's now gone into place. Now it will only go on one way. It won't. You can't sort of mess that up because it's splined. It will only go so far. Okay, but now that gearbox has been fully instated where it needs to be. We're happy with it. You've got a friction washer and a normal washer. The normal washer goes on first, friction washer goes on behind it, and you've got a little tiny nut and bolt there to put on a bit later on, but we put on there just for now so we don't actually lose it. And all the time I've been doing this, I've been checking this gearbox, and we've got no oil leaks, okay, so that's a good thing. That's that step completed. Okay, so confession number one, I actually had the gearbox in the wrong orientation. So I take the roller back off, take the gearbox out, swing the gearbox around and put it on that way. So that's how it goes. Output shaft facing up, short roller this side, okay, so the gearbox isn't round this side. The gearbox has got to be on this side because that's where it's going to go up inside as it is now, okay. So that's my first confession. I always try and show my mistakes if I can. So it didn't quite look right to me, and I just refer back to my old video, which is exactly what anyone should do. If they got any videos and you're not quite right, then make sure you get it right. You've then got your height adjustment bracket here. This goes on with the curved bit going over the top facing the gearbox, and then this little tiny one here. There should be a keyway fit on there, Mick. A little tiny key, which I hope I still have in my box of many things. If I haven't, I'll have to make one, because there should be a little tiny keyway goes in there. Yep. Screws. Now you want to have it in there because that's what locks all that up together, you see. And my keyway is missing. So I don't know whether or not it didn't actually have a keyway in it. Let me double check my video to see if it actually had a keyway in there. I don't think it did. Okay, I did find Mr. Keyway, and I looked back on my video and I did this. And that's where the keyway was, down there. So there's a little tiny keyway that sits in here, just sits in there, and then that in turn will then sit in the shaft on hither. Little tiny keyway slot down here, so just line that up. Eventually it'll find its little home. There it goes there, so that's gone in. So yeah, just be careful when you're taking bits apart. Don't be like me, just throw it on the floor. That little bolt thing will go in the end of here. Now that's the one we really struggled to get out last time with an impact. So before we go any further, there should be a bit of grease now actually, from where I had I still over top the bearing. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of copper slip on there. As I say, doing the preparation work now will help you later on. Now I may sell this lawnmower and I may never ever see it again, right? But there's a good possibility that actually it may just come back next year for a full service or whatever, or you know, gearbox breaks in a couple of years' time, whatever. I can take it apart in the knowledge, knowing that actually I can take that gearbox apart with relative ease because I made sure I greased it all up before it went back in. All right, so that's got to go onto there now. Now that actually I had to put an impact on that to take that off. There's no need for that to be that on there that tight. Just a good hand tight will hold it. Okay, it ain't gonna be no more than that. All the time, this gearbox is not leaking. There's no oil on the top here, so we know we've got a good seal on the gearbox. So that's it now. And so as far as I'm aware, apart from just a few bits and pieces I've got here, which are all for putting it back on the machine, I can now get the mower back in, and we can now start to reinstate this this roller onto the mower. So hopefully we'll have no dramas there. Let me clear the decks down, get sorted out. Oh, sorry about kicking you. And we'll get the mower back in, and we'll start to reinstate the roller back onto the mower. Okay, mower's now back on the old bench. Let's get the gearbox up into place where it needs to be. Somewhere there. Like that. Now that's the orientation, guys and girls, of which it's gonna go into the mower. Okay, like that. Short roller this side, long roller that side. If yours is different, you put it back together incorrectly. Okay, with your short roller here and the output shaft facing towards the mower, that's how it needs to look. If it don't look like that, go back and try again. All I want to do now is lift the mower up, the back of the mower up, slide this roughly into place, and then this bolt hole here has got to line with that one and the same other side, and we'll start to get it in place. So I can't find my axle stand. I've got 2 axle stands in this shed, and I can't find either one of them. I want to try and prop the back of this mower up so I can take a bit of weight off, but at the moment I can't find one. I've got 2 in here, I know I have, but where they are now, I don't know, I can tell you. Right, so with the mower pivoted up the front, I can now lift that up. Not a lot of room in here. And then just start to offer the gearbox into place. I might have to tip up onto its side just to get it all the way in. But that's roughly where it wants to be. Problem is my shed. The biggest problem in my shed is that I don't have enough height in the ceiling, so I might have to drop this this mower lift down slightly, because the handle's touching the ceiling on my shed. That's the only one problem I have with my shed. It's the one thing I don't like about it. So if anyone would like to buy me a new shed, feel free. Let's drop that down a touch. And just give me a bit more. Give me a bit more height to work on my old mower. Then good. I can lift it up a bit more and get it roughly into place. So that gearbox got to go up inside its housing. And then that's all got to then sit perpendicular. You see what I'm doing, can't you? Like that. That's nearly gone. Yeah, we're nearly there. And you can see that bolt there has now got to line up with this one here, like so. I can then get one of my big collar bolts, which is one of these, and the 13mm goes on the inside. Okay. That goes into there. Line it up, give it a wiggle, wiggle. That's what going into there. In fact, I want a wash on and all, Mick. I would have thought. Let's get my bits and bobs up. That's the 13mm on the back of that. There's 2 of those, yeah. That's right, yeah. Don't need any of that. That's fine. That's it, yeah. So that doesn't need a wash on there. But that's got to go all the way in. Into here, and then the same the other side. Let me get a decent socket for that. It's quite a size actually. Oh my lord, it's bigger than you. That one. That's a 1/2 inch on a ratchet. Professional ratchet here, none of your B&M stuff. Start to send that home. Once that's in place, we can then get the 13mm on the back of that, do that up, go around the other side and put the other 13mm on the back of that one as well. And then that's pretty much the roller held in place. So let's get that done. No, not threaded all the way through, but we might just want a bit of a tap. There it goes. Now that's gone in. Let me get a mallet on that. Lovely. 13mm. It's got to go on the back of that nut, back of that bolt, and then round the other side, exactly the same thing. Let me show you. Okay, we're round to the side now. And we've got that other bolt to put in, which would be that one there. So that's got to go in. Locate the hole. A tap tap. That one's in. So now I can tip the lawnmower forwards, and then I can put that 13mm. I wish I had my axle stand. I need to find my axle stand, guys. I don't know where it's gone. I had 2 of them. Has anyone stolen my axle stands? Let me try and find them, gents. It'll just be a bit easier to get this done. Right, I managed to just use an old Honda roller I had here. I can't find my axle stand. It's doing me head in. So now that's up, I can now put my hand up inside here, and there's a bolt just here which I put through. That's got to have a 13mm put on the end of that. And there's also one just the other side as well. I'm working a bit blind here. Somewhere, there it goes, that's gone on. Got one 13mm there, another 13mm to the other side. So everything I'm doing now is pretty much mirrored, okay? So let me grab a 13mm. I want to grab a 13mm with an expandable, I don't know what I'm trying to say. 13mm with a adjustable neck on it, okay? Because you can't get up to it too well, so I'm just going to try and get it, locate it on there. And I'll grab that big 1/2 inch, and that's got a 17mm on it. I can then do that one up. And what you're going to do here, you're going to tighten this one up, and then you're also going to tighten the other side as well. Okay. You ain't got to hang on those, so I'm just going to change it up for a short reach 17. Because it's pulling too much of an angle away from me. Let's change it up for a short reach. Don't need a big thing on there. There it goes. It's starting to bite. Not too hard. It's got to be on relatively tight, but you ain't got to hang on it. I'll try and retrieve my 13mm spanner back now, which does not want to come off. Right, there you go. So quick change machine round and do the one up on the other side, and then I'll come back to you once I've done that. Okay, so I have just made one error, and as I say, you know, I'd rather leave it in than edit it out and whatever. I haven't put the height adjustment arm on, have I? And luckily enough, this is the one that goes on with a removable bracket, so it's not life or death that you forget it, because it doesn't take that long just to put it all back together. So yeah, my mistake. As I say, I do make mistakes. I'm not 110% professional. In fact, I'm nowhere near professional. But I'd rather show it now than someone say, "Oh, you left that bit out," like that, and get another go at me. So I'll remove that down, and you've got a height adjustment arm here to go on. That's got to slip into there. I hope to try and sneak that in without removing the whole bracket off of the mower, if I can get it to go. There you go. So that's now, that can now sit up there into place. That's it. That's better. I did just forget it. It does happen. So now we're going to slide that back into place there. So now it's got the height control back on it again. We can now do it back up. That's that one. I just want to show it, because I know it's like, you know, you put it all back together, and I just do it behind the scenes, and you'll be able to go at me later on. So I'd much rather just show it to you how it is. Here's one I made earlier. Yeah, exactly. A bit of blue Peterism. I'm not in for that. I'd much rather show some of my mistakes, and that way we all know where we stand, don't we? Being a bit honest. Honest John, the second-hand car salesman. Wasn't he in Harry Enfield? Right, that's now on. So technically, I should now be able to move my height control. My roller's just slightly in the way there to stop me doing it, but it's pretty much there. I've got to put my spring back on. I'll be doing my spring very shortly. I don't want to do it just yet because I want to put the cable on and what have you on the gearbox. So now I'm going to take this lawnmower down a touch, tip it onto its side, because I now want to fit the cable and gearbox as well. Okay, so I just want to show you another way of putting your cable on if you're struggling, okay? If you find it hard to put your cable on, remove the little bracket that was on the gearbox up earlier on, which is going to be that little kitty just there, okay? And then remove your clutch fork adjuster, which activates your drive, okay? So what you want to do is you want to get this little tiny tool here. Now, it will only go on one way. You can see it's got a bit of a curve to it here and a flat bottom. Well, on the gearbox itself, the curve is at the top and the flat bit's at the bottom, okay? So it's got to go that way like that. It can't go any other way, okay? It has to be like that with that bit there going up the top of the gearbox. Retrieve your cable. All right. So these can be a bit of a pickle to do if you've got quite big hands like myself. Some people just get it on in 2 seconds flat, you know, but it's what it is. I'll try and just give you another option. So it goes on that way. So all you want to do is pull your spring down, hook your cable arm on, and hook your cable on that way. That way we then know that that bit there goes up the top of a gearbox, so it'll go into that orientation like so. Okay, and then all you've got to do is then get your little arm, and it's going to go, let's get this right, it goes onto the machine that way. Let me make sure this is right. It's going to go onto it, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so these little tiny tabs go inside the spring, and all you want to do is pull this spring up slightly and just hook that little tiny connector onto here. Just push it over. Okay, lift that spring up at the same time as doing it, so there's not a lot of room for hands. And my GoPro's right where I'd like it not to be. And just literally just try and feed that on. Push it over. Feed it on. Like so. Lift the spring up, tip it round, and there you go, that's all on now. So that's now on. So we know the cable's now on. All we've got to do now is feed this part onto the gearbox. Got two 10mm bolts to do up there. That goes round that way, okay. So this bit here is at the bottom, and this bit here is at the top. You can put your mounting on your gearbox with two 10mm bolts, which is going to be in that orientation. Two 10mm, Mick. I know my hands are in the way, people, but you know I need to get in here. There's that little bolt hole. Because this clutch fork is actually in the or will be set, so it's not working. So when you pull the handle in for the drive, it'll pull the handle up, which will engage your drive. So then goes a second bolt. And this is generally what happens if you have to remove the clutch fork. You see, normal circumstances are you're just removing the clutch. You can get away with removing the clutch without removing the clutch fork. So therefore you don't have to remove that little arm. Where's that gone? Yeah, somewhere. Get in there. There it goes. Well, that's in place. So we're just going to wind it down slightly, just so they're in place. Now don't forget, my drive lever is not engaged. So my drive is saying not engaged. So now all we've got to do is put this on at its furthest point it'll go, because all that's going to happen is when you pull the clutch fork in, it's going to rotate this way round. It's going to pull that lever towards the cable. Okay, so as long as your clutch lever, which is now set to drive, twist that clockwise as far as it'll go. Give the roller a little bit of a spin, just so we know it's as far as it'll go. All the way back. Lovely. I might just give that little output shaft a little spin too. just so we know it's all the way back as far as it wants to go. About there. And then all you've got to then do is then get your adjuster and slide that onto the gearbox with as much slack on there as you can get. It is a bit of a pickle to fit, to be fair. So what you can do, get a little tiny screwdriver and just open that gap up just a touch. So what we've then got to do is just slide your adjuster back onto the clutch fork. I mean, you see there's your adjustment there. Look, see, there's your adjustment. It doesn't need a lot to engage that, to lift that old clutch up. You can then get your 10mm bolt and your nut then and just lock that off, okay? Now we can always adjust anything that needs adjusting on the cable the other end. So if you do have problems getting your cable back on, then that's another little option for you there. As I say, you don't normally have to do it, but if you're just removing the clutch, then you don't have to do this. But if you're removing the clutch fork as well, sometimes you have to get around it other ways by doing that. But it's not all the time. But that's just another quick little tip there, direct from you, from the Micks Mowers Shack, on how to put your cable on. Make sure it's up nice and tight. It hasn't got to be on colossally tight, guys, it's just got to be on there. So it bites that old clutch fork. I did wind it up a touch just to make sure it fits, make sure it doesn't come off. Yeah, that's all on there. Yeah, we like that. Right, let's turn it back onto its wheels and roller, and we'll move on to the next step. Right, so now is the time we're going to fit the output shaft. Here it is here. That just goes into the engine on the output side, just in here somewhere. Slide that in, and then pull the gearbox forward. Bit of a rotate. And your output shaft will just slide into place, he says. There it goes. I've already connected the back end of this one up with a split pin in there. That's now got to go onto there and have a circlip put onto that one. No biggie. Let's put a circlip onto there. Pair of long nose pliers, Micks. I'm going to put that little circlip onto there. That's gone in. That ain't going nowhere. So now the output shaft is now on. I now want to hook up my my spring onto said device here. So a little bit of tension, and I'll get a pair of fuel hose clamps or something very similar. Fuel hose clamps will probably be the best way forward. Get a pair of those, and then grab hold of your spring, lift it up and over, slide it over, let go of it, and just have it into place. There it goes. So the spring's now on. So I think we're nearly there. I don't know how long this video is going to be, guys, but I will try and edit some of it out for you. But anything that I edit out, you're losing information. I didn't want to do a part 3 on it. So now what's all left to do is bring in the side coverings, which would be a bolt up the top, which goes onto this one, and a screw onto this one here. So that all goes onto there, over there. I've got a little tiny 10mm bolt, which I had a ratchet for a minute ago. Let's just put a little tiny extension on there, Micks. Small extension. Small extension, baby. So a little 10mm bolt goes into there. Just have it into the hole and line that up. That's it. You've got 2 to do, one this side, one the other side. And then of course you've got the cover which goes over the back, which is only held on by one 10mm anyway. That's no biggie. Phillips screwdriver to put the other screw in down the bottom, and then you've got one screw around the back here as well. That's all you've got. So there's 3 more bits to do. Nothing that you guys and girls are not capable of doing. Just wind them screws in. Once you've done that, I'll fill it up with juice, make sure it's all where it needs to be, and then we'll go for a fire up. And hopefully we might have fixed this lawnmower. It should run, and more importantly, it should drive. Okay, let's get it out of the old shed. And give a bit of a live fire up. See what's going to happen. I don't know if there's any juice in here. Now, it has been tipped up, guys, so, and girls. So it may want a bit more love yet. Let's just check the old fuel consumption on it. See what the fuel's doing. Oh, there's plenty of fuel in there. Loads of fuel. Right, let's turn the fuel on. It's all the way back. Give that a minute just to sort itself out. Just give it a second. So straight away, it rolls as it should do. And when you pull it backwards without the drive engaged, it does roll backwards. And when you engage the drive, it does lock. So that tells me the clutch is working. But we won't know until we actually fire it up. So this is a live fire. On the choke. I think it's that way. Fire that up. First pull. Right the clutch. Drive. Ah, yeah. Look at that. Oh, that's really strong. Rotor clutch and drive. Yeah, baby. No judder. Normally they sort of, you know, you can feel it try and struggle to get in, but look, just touch out with one finger, look, it's away. Yeah, nice. That's really nice. Really strong. There you go, guys. One Kaaz, Sarp, Dunelm, Honda, 553 Pro Lawnflight. That's how you do the gearbox on one of those for around about £90 with around about 2 hours labour.
Chippies.
Chippies? What, you had dinner?
Yep.
What are you having?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips. Where's mine?
Is yours ready?
Mine's ready. Where's your dinner now then? Where's it now?
Now.
Is it in there?
Yeah.
In the old tummy?
Yeah.
Riley boy's just turned up. He's a bit depressed earlier on because he missed out on the video, but I want to get on today and get this one done. And they're quite technical, and you've got to really have your concentration levels a little bit high on those machines because there's quite a bit involved in those gearboxes. Because if you get it wrong, you've got to take it all that apart. So it's something you really don't want to do. So yeah, he was a bit upset that he missed the first part of the video, but I don't matter. That happens. There's always another video.
I working tonight.
I am working tonight, mate. Yeah, working tonight. Were you working tonight?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So that's the Sarp lawnmower. 2 seconds, buddy. That's the Sarp lawnmower, all now up and done, all up and running. Drives, cuts, rotor clutch, does exactly what it should do. £90 will get you that that complete kit for the gearbox, and about 2 hours labour will what's that?
What's that?
It's dirt, mate. I'm covered in oil. We'll get that gearbox now all up and done and revamped for you. So yeah, £90, 2 hours labour. That's not bad. Just consider how long it would take in a lawnmower shop. And the parts there. So if you reckon, have a little think. Let me know how much that would cost in a lawnmower shop. You know, for fully vetted lawnmower dealer, how much that would actually cost for that repair to be done. You can do it yourself for 90 quid. So there you go. If that's a little episode of Micks Mowers and Merman, hit the old subscribe button and whack the old bell. That way you'll be told next time we'll have another video. I look forward to seeing the next episode of Micks Mowers very, very soon. But until then, guys, much more importantly, don't forget,
Get easy.
take it easy.
We watch you, Daddy.
I really loves you too.